welcome back to Steel Division Normandy 44. Today, guys, we are taking out the French again, and we are going to be doing a 3 versus 3. So this should turn into a pretty good match. Two French divisions and one Scottish division versus the 21st Panzer, two 21st Panzers, and one 91st Luftland. So let's just go ahead and get started. Well, we'll look at the units I have first, and then we'll get going right away. So first thing we have here is I have one 57mm gun. I have a unit of command infantry, two units of, I believe they're pioneers. Actually, let's move this here. Yeah, two units of pioneers here. One of the 7.62 machine guns, or I believe they're 7.92 machine guns. A unit of mortarmen and one other leadership infantry or something along those lines. We'll see when they pop out. I can't quite remember. Over here we have another one of these AM M8s, which are fantastic scout vehicles early game, and then another 57mm anti-tank gun. So let's go ahead and get started here. Speed this up a little bit. Oh, and we brought another unit of infantry. So our plan is to push up and take this town, and then use these units to just kind of hold this right flank for us. Go a little bit quicker. Come on. And of course our allies over here are doing pretty much the same thing. Going to be pushing up along the front line, and hopefully we can eke out a win in this conquest game against the Germans. So here we go. We're pushing up quick, and as you'll notice here, like I said, the M8 is moving over. I end up putting him right in this corner so that he has a decent line of sight. We pushed up, see the 7.62 machine gun right there, but unfortunately we pushed up too far with this unit of infantry and lost them in one shot, so that was a bummer. Our pioneers are moving up. Let's go ahead and slow this down a little bit. We have the two machine guns off, and we're just waiting to get them close enough. Our down here, our 57mm cannon is taking some shots in on their vehicles and does a very good job. I mean, look at this cluster. What a big time mistake from those guys. They really got bunched up, and we were able to put in quite a bit of damage. These guys end up moving over and start flaming, causing even more problems. They lost a 304, they lost quite a few half tracks is really what ended up happening. This unit of pioneers got a little too aggressive. I was trying to push them into this tree line, hoping to get some early surrenders, but that didn't work out too well. They do have this Pack 38 back here now, and he was able to, I don't believe the Pack 38 can do HE. Nope, he didn't. But they have all these half tracks and whatnot that were able to destroy him pretty quick. Over on this right flank, you can see there is nothing over here, and we'll take advantage of that pretty soon. Then, of course, here in the town, I'm a little too bunched up. I'm trying to push up this 57mm, which I probably shouldn't have pushed it that far, but I wanted to get a decent line of sight down this road. I've gotten pretty good at attack moving my units, so that is pretty much what he's doing. He ends up stopping right here, and yeah, so they're doing good. I have a mortarman in this tree line, but we haven't started launching any mortars yet, but we do shortly, because I can see there is quite a bit of infantry pushing up to the other side of these trees, and we definitely cannot have that. Grenadiers and a leadership unit or a command unit. Here he has a, well, we don't know what yet. What did I just lose? Panzer Grenadiers. It's either one of the ones in the trees or right over here. I highly doubt it's these ones right here. Yeah, it's got to be one of the ones in the trees that was able to hit this little jeep here and unfortunately destroy it. Here you can see the mortars are now launching rounds, which is doing a very good job. I don't have any anti-air, which is causing me a little bit of problems. It does cause me a little problem, quite a few problems early on in the game. Normally I bring in one anti-air unit, but this game I didn't, and my opponent invested quite heavily into aircraft. So this, as you can see, becomes a bit of a problem. I do have some more infantry coming up, another medium machine gun, and pioneers to try to secure this town a little bit better. They are trying to push, but these Pioneers are doing such a good job at forcing their half-tracks back. The Pioneers and those Flamers, man, they do some work. So I was pretty happy with them. This unit of Pioneers isn't quite in the town. This was a little bit of a mistake on my end, which I'm just now catching. They are on the other side of this building because the machine guns are already in there. So got to pay attention to that. I did end up losing this anti-tank gun, I believe it's right there, to a airstrike. A couple of those aircraft were targeting that unit, so that was a little bit of unfortunate. But because of the Pioneers, they were definitely able to push back these half-tracks. Now, my opponent did bring in a Panzer 35S, but fortunately we do have some... oh, I thought he had an anti-tank gun over here on the left flank. Oh, it's farther over. So this doesn't come into play quite yet. But his Panzer ends up sitting right here for a minute, and I don't quite recall what happens to him, but he does become priority for me. Our M10A1 moves up, he attack moves, he can see the SPW, takes a couple shots, but the SPW is able to move away. We also have a command M3A3 who is there to help that M10A1. I'm bringing up a replacement anti-tank gun, and I end up putting him right in the same spot, which probably wasn't the best idea, but whatever. I did try to push up a unit of, or no, that was one of the opponent's napalm units, but we were able to destroy them, and he does try to push into this tree line a couple times. I believe that was the opponent's one. I wasn't quite looking up there. Again, on the right flank, nothing really is going on, so we're just leaving this M8 here to kind of hold that area and hope nothing pushes too hard on there. Again, aircraft is a bit of an issue for us. They do see these two tanks pushing up, the M10 and the M3, dropping a couple shots in on them to try to, well, they just use their machine guns, but they can still panic us pretty good. So we have our Pioneers over here. I try to move them up to this next building, get some shots in on these two half-tracks, which does end up working out okay. But unfortunately, there is this SPW right here, which puts a huge amount of stress and then immediately destroys those Pioneers. Over here, we have a WC-52, which is just a 12.7 millimeter gun, but they're putting some shots on these aircraft. And I believe, yep, there they are. So now I'm starting to bring in the NA aircraft because this is just doing way too much work. And I bring in another M8. This is the one with the primarily anti-infantry guns, the HE rounds. I'm going to try and push them into this town so I can hopefully get some shots in here. Probably would have been better use bringing in another mortar unit, because as you can see, my mortar unit did get destroyed, and sending some mortars into that tree line, but oh well. Lesson learned. I'll definitely do that next time. So over here, I ended up losing just a standard Jeep. He is pushing over with his Pack 38. And then, of course, we have our M10, who just took out his infantry out of this tree, or this building over here. Our command M3 is moving up as well, and I'm trying to kind of push back on this right flank over here. You can see we did just take out another one of his vehicles back here with the M10. So that's doing quite a bit of work. We have a 57 millimeter right here, which is just barely unable to get sight on this U-304, but it is in a good position, so it will keep him from pushing around to the left. And then, of course, our M8 is taking some shots at it at this point because he can see it and forces him to fall back, or at least move over to his left side. So I've got another unit of mortars coming in. I'm not quite sure what took out this this vehicle here. Oh, I guess it must have been the M10 over here on this right flank. Yep, that's what it was. That is a pretty good line of sight there. I forgot about that. So as he's pushing up, he can actually see down this road area, and he is able to take out both of those half tracks that were there. So that's a good bonus. And we are trying to push him up. He's unsupported, which isn't really the smartest thing, but I could tell that whatever was over here is really going to have a hard time seeing me. But once he gets to this tree line here, I will be in a bit of trouble. Now I'm trying to bring up the M8 to support this M10, and hoping that the two of these together will do a bit of work. I'm also pushing this 57 millimeter on the right flank, so that'll give us a little bit more territory. We do have 51% control, which is nice, and it's bouncing between us at 50 and 51. So over on the left flank, you can see our ally here is doing quite well pushing into this town. So he's holding the majority of the territory for us, getting us that +1. So thanks to him, we're actually doing pretty well. Right here, we have more aircraft coming in, which is causing problems because they keep shooting my 57s as soon as they see them, which, you know, of course is a good tactic. But thankfully, I have at least one Beaufort, the GMC Beaufort, which is vehicle-mounted Beaufort, so that works out pretty well. I'm attack moving him over here because I know they're going to try and take out this 57mm. Over here, we have a Pak 38, and he is still trying to push in. And in just a second here, he sees my M10 and my M8, but he's not able to shoot at them. He must have done a regular move instead of attack move, which I highly recommend always attack move, because at this point his shots are going to be very inaccurate, and he's already getting hit by not only the main gun, but the machine gun ammo as well. Yeah, the main gun on the M10 does have 4 HE, so got him with both. So now that I know that that's destroyed, I push up here. I did launch a bunch of smoke into the town, not because I was necessarily going to push, but just because, you know, a little feint here because I'm pushing over on this right side. I do have this 7.62 machine gun here. He was about to take a shot but didn't quite get it because we have a probably a 222 as well as some other vehicles moving up. There's an anti-tank gun right here moving into this tree line, which is going to be very, very dangerous. We have another command tank that I brought in, but of course, oh, they did pin him down, so that's good. That's really good, and destroyed it. Fantastic. So we're continuing to push over here. At this point, I believe I brought in, yep, I have a support that I'm going to try and bring up to this point, but that's not really the best choice. I probably should have at least left the tank up there and then fell back and then brought the support, but we'll see how that goes. Now, my biggest concern was if the enemy pushed infantry into this tree line, my tanks would be toast. So I decided to bring up a couple units of infantry and push up this tree line on the right flank. But things get a little funky with their pathing because, as you can see, I'm coming in from here, and so they drive straight up this road and then cut over, and so it kind of makes it a little difficult. I should have paid more attention. As soon as they came in, I should have just clicked them to come over here and then shift clicked it, or given them a second order to move up to this tree line, so they would have gone up the right side of the map. So the smoke is gone, and our opponent over here has quite a bit of vehicles in this town. He's got a Panzer. That Panzer, I believe, that was over here, unless this is it, this smoking ruin. Oh, maybe that's it right there. Well, he does have a Panzer in this town now, a command Panzer, as well as I'm sure there's some infantry in these tree lines and or in these buildings in this tree line. So I've got to be pretty careful. This Pak 43, the 88mm, this is a threat. So I've got to do something about this guy because I can see him now. He's definitely putting some work in. He's hitting this Bofors and ends up actually destroying it. So that's a little bit unfortunate here. You'll see, I think it's the next shot drops it. Yep, right there. That is important. That has got to go away. 4 HE power, 22 AP power. It's going to basically hold down this entire left side. So we'll have to do something there. Now I do move, where is I have another mortar here. This mortar I'm moving over because I want them to take some shots on that. You'll see here this infantry, all three of these infantry are kind of coming to the right, then they're going up this road. Definitely should have caught them earlier. They stop here to start shooting at this Panzer, which I did catch it with a couple guys and I moved them right away, but it's going to cause me a few problems. Thankfully this Panzer looks like he was pretty stressed or moving or something like that. So we're moving these guys over. I did drop back this M8 and now the GMC is here. I didn't push him up quite that far, but you see we have a 222 there, I believe. He's bringing in some aircraft, but now I have 2 GMC Beauforts, but he still got him. He got him with a bomb, which destroyed that M10. Now the issue with the M10s, I really like them. They're a fantastic anti-tank vehicle, great tank destroyer, but they're very, very weak, and airstrikes really do work on them, so you have to be careful. My mortars over here are finally launching into this tree line, so I'm hopefully going to put some stress on that 88mm PEC 43. Over here, he is pushing his Sherman across, and this is causing me some major problems. That big divot that I just had, I just lost because my Sepirs are now pinned, and this Butte Sherman destroyed their troop carrier. I do have another unit of them pushing into this tree line, so I'm still keeping a decent amount of the front line pushing forward, but it's definitely causing some problems. I have another M10 here, which I'm pushing up. Gonna try to get him, I believe I tried to get him right there, and he's attack moving, so as soon as he gets there, he's gonna take some shots. Here we have this M8 who is trying to go for the, I think it's 222 that's right behind this tree line. So we need to get him down and destroyed as well. And of course our command tank as well. Transmission damaged on both of these vehicles, better than having them destroyed, so I can't complain too much about that. My Sapirs here, I'm pushing back, but they're taking quite a bit of damage from all of the armor that's moving up at this point. And of course the other ones that were there I did end up losing. Now this M10 is going to get a shot in on the Sherman, which is good, and I believe it does make short work of it with that 13 AP power versus his 10 armor. Even though he does have, oh no, not yet, the M10, the Sherman destroyed my M10. So little bit of trouble here. Their armor is definitely pushing through this city. This is where we're now into phase B and moving towards phase C. This is where it starts to get a little bit difficult with these guys. You definitely need to be holding the front line much better than this. I think like these guys right here, obviously way too close together. That's just asking for it. Aircraft come in, they need to drop a bomb or shoot one of them, and it's going to get both of them. He comes in, puts some pressure on my 57mm. Fortunately did not take out my GMC. I do end up trying to move these guys back. The M8 is falling back. The Command M3 is now moving forward, and I believe we are finally bringing in some artillery and some more infantry. Now I didn't really get my infantry that I brought in initially to where I wanted them to. One of the units is now here. They were all supposed to be over in this tree line, so I believe at this point my intention was to try again with these units, but instead I'm just going to push them right up into this city again because I feel I'm getting pushed back a little bit in here, and I don't really have much in terms of offense or defense capability in this town. Of course, you know, my opponent doesn't know that, so there is that. Now I did just lose my command tank here, so this is causing us a bit of a problem. This Sherman is doing work on this right flank, so we definitely are going to have to do something about that shortly. So artillery is about to start firing, and infantry is going to pop out in just a minute. So there's the artillery launching at these grenadiers and basically just hitting up this tree line. I do move this half track over, pop the infantry out, same thing here. These are more Sapirs, and this unit is going to drop out and go, I believe, into this front building soon, hopefully. So over here, we're just continuing the artillery barrage and kind of just hanging on at this point. I mean, I don't really have enough to push. The aircraft is doing a decent amount of work against us. I have spent a lot of points bringing in 2 GMCs, and I have another anti-aircraft unit somewhere in this town, I believe, but I'm not quite sure where. Or maybe it was just the machine gun from one of the tanks. I know the M8s can. Oh, he has no weaponry left, or no ammunition left. That is a bit unfortunate. And a GMC right behind him. So here's where it gets even worse. Now I do again have these GMCs, which they do a good job, but they're too far back. So these bombs are coming in, and the cannon is destroyed, and this Beaufort is just shy of being forced to fall back. I now have another M7 artillery unit, so I'm going to try and increase the pressure on this town because I know with what he has over here, My best bet is just to try to hold him back at this point. We do have potential for total victory here. We're +1 on them with 54% of the map. The left flank was holding a little bit stronger than this, but he's still got a nice divot in this town. And of course, we've got these little pushes forward in the center and the left flank. So not a lot of action going on over here compared to our side, or at least it doesn't appear that way. But we're definitely holding the line, I guess you could say. So this gets a little tough, but we're bringing in some more anti-tank guns because we know we are going to have to deal with these Shermans. I push this 57mm up, see this Sherman here, and we get a couple shots in on him. At the same time, I lose a half-track. We kill that Sherman and push the front line back quite a bit. He was the furthest one up, which I did not realize he doesn't have anyone in this tree line, at least that can affect the front line. So that's an interesting little change of events. Now, the Pack 43 is back. He's pretty much been there off and on. I've tried to stress him a few times, but I have to deal with that guy. So I just saw it fire, and you'll see in a moment here that I see that there's not only the Pack 43, but there's an anti-aircraft gun. And so we're going to take our artillery and start bombarding this location because we want to get rid of both of those. I mean, that's a priority for us, the Pack 43 and the anti-aircraft gun. That's pretty much where we should be putting all of our artillery efforts. So I don't know how long it takes me to get to it, but I do eventually get there. Now we drop out this cannon early. I was pushing for this tree line, but I figured if I dropped him early I could get some nice shots in, and sure enough I do. I get some shots on this Sherman. We're not too far away. We're right about 850 meters, so we have a good chance of actually destroying it, but unfortunately we end up falling back really early. I think I should have just maybe brought him down and then up or something along those lines to get him into this tree line. But it works. He's with 11 AP power against 10 armor at that distance. You're not really guaranteed a nice penetrating hit. You know, you need to make sure that these 57mm are a little bit closer. So in the town, we're pretty bunched up. I've got this mortar here who's not really doing anything. Okay, our M7s are now launching over here. They're supposed to be launching over here. This does happen, but not quite yet. My opponent is now pushing forward heavily. He's got the 222 coming up, he's got the Sherman coming up, and he's definitely pushing this front line quite well. The 57mm cannon in a minute will come out of pinned down. Takes him a little while. We also have an M10 and a anti-aircraft gun, the M15, which these guys end up being superstars, these M15s, and you'll see in a minute. So the artillery is still firing here. We have the mortars that launched a couple shots there. The Bofors end up panicking this 222, but the Beaufort itself gets panicked by this Panzer. These M15s are really good at panicking enemy tanks. You'll see in a minute here the Panzer gets panicked, and the Sherman is also going to get panicked by this Beaufort over here. And then of course it's giving my M10 the opportunity to move forward. Of course artillery helps as well with that panicking of the opponent's tanks. So our opponent is pushing. He has quite a bit of infantry that he dropped off a few minutes ago, and they are now pushing into this tree line. We do have an okay front line in terms of the WC-52s. Those machine guns help us out quite a bit. You'll see they unload on these infantry, pin them down immediately, and end up destroying them very quickly. He does get a bombing run off, which doesn't destroy too much, but it does force this vehicle back and pins everything down. So that is unfortunate, but it's better that than having those units destroyed. So we have these two tanks over here, which are doing a pretty good job of holding the line. But now that this M10 is there, he's going to be able to put some shots in. And I believe he is able to take this out. I could be wrong though. He forces him to fall back and then he does get him, that's right. So in a minute here, one more shot should end up taking that tank down, hopefully. I could be wrong because it has been a little bit since I played this game. So over here we do have our ally who brought in a bombing run for us, and that helped us out quite a bit. Nope, I was wrong. The M10 does end up falling back, but we're bringing up another M10 because we have got to do something about this right flank, especially with another Panzer IV pushing up and another Sherman over here. So the aircraft is coming in again. We have quite a bit. Our ally over here has a Bofors. We have some machine guns here. Our M8 is finally getting some ammunition. We have our M15, a couple Bofors over here, at least one Bofors there, one Bofors there. They've been being pushed back quite a bit by these Shermans, by the Sherman, the Panzer little combination over here. I am dropping some mortars in this area, trying to stress this Sherman, so hopefully he can we can push him back. The M10 over here has pushed up, and he's trying to take some shots in on this Sherman and push them back. And then we have this M10 right here who's going to try and take a shot at this Panzer, or that Sherman actually, and one shot there gets him to finally fall back, so that's good. They do have this, the infantry push here kind of failed right in this general area. We had these sapeurs here, and they were able to push him back with the help of these, well, this vehicle primarily. However, they still do have, I'm pretty sure, a unit of infantry in this tree line. So our M10s are pushing up a little bit. They're actually doing quite a bit of work. This Panzer is now falling back, which is going to give me the opportunity to sneak out and take a shot at it. So in a minute here, we will get that shot off. And oh, he takes the command tank out first, and then we end up getting that that Panzer. Now we've got a pretty big push coming down the road here on the left side, but I don't really have too much to deal with it quite yet. Over here, I'm still waiting on when I start to artillery this Flak 38, but it does happen. Oh, that's right. We counter battery this next, because we obviously can't have this. They destroyed our 57mm anti-tank gun. Can't have that. And of course, they have all these half tracks, which just shredded my front line with all those machine guns, and they dropped off a whole bunch of grenadiers. So I decided to fall back a little bit. Gave up a little bit of the front line, but at this point, I don't really want to be just leaving a unit of infantry up there to die. There's no reason. So now we're trying to counter battery the rocket battery that just came after us, and we do pretty well. I'm pretty sure I push him back right here. And now we have some more aircraft. This is coming in over here. So on the left flank, of course, our ally is doing very well. He's pretty much crushed his opponent and is now moving forward at a pretty hefty pace. He's very bunched up, but he's doing really well. It looks as though in the center, he's still able to hold. He's got a pretty decent front line, but he's got to push back pretty far. In comes some more aircraft, but I have so much anti-aircraft at this point. We're pretty heavy into Phase C, so I'm not really that worried about it. I have this M15 here, and I think, yep, there's another M15 over there. The 37mm and the two 12.7mm are able to help these Bofors out and do some work here. This Bofors is just about out of ammunition. I'm sure that's not going to last too much longer. And this one's running low as well. So we have the two M10s here. So we've kind of cleared out this area, or at least it doesn't appear to be that there's anything there. And then our M8 is pushed all the way back into the corner here. We do have the town held pretty well. We were able to destroy one of those little half tracks there. And this unit tried to sneak up, but didn't work out quite as well as I'd hoped. He does have a rocket, and so he ends up, or a bazooka, he ends up trying to take that shot, but he's pinned down. He did destroy the engine there, and I'm not quite sure what was able to take out that other half track. I'm trying to move this M10 over. He's got a pretty nice line of sight down the road, and so he's able to take some shots at that Panzer IV and destroy that tank. And then we continue to move him. I probably should have just left him right there. He was attack moving, so he stopped on his own. But would have probably been a good idea to just leave him there. But he still is able to now see this tank, or oh, is that infantry? There's somebody in here that I believe could see that tank, but I don't remember. I don't know who he's shooting at. Not sure. But the M10 was able to hit a vehicle that was way down here. And he's also able to do the same thing, put some stress on these mortars that our opponent is bringing in just a minute, you'll see. Of course, we have another rocket barrage, so again, I have to counter battery, which I do very, very quickly. On this left flank here, you can see we did end up mortaring these units. I missed it, unfortunately, but we were able to destroy the, looks like that's the Flak 43, I believe. Is that what it is, or is that just an anti-aircraft? Nope, that might be it. So we had some success over there with our counter battery. And then, of course, here we're doing the same thing and getting some pretty decent hits in. There it is right there. And it is now going to be falling back. Well, at least within the next barrage or so. So we're holding the town really well, I think. Our allies over here are pushing significantly better than we are. Phase C for the French is a little bit difficult, but I think if I would have played this a little bit better, I think I could have pushed a little bit harder. Especially with, I do have some Phase C tanks that are decent. They're not amazing, but if you mix a couple M10s in with them, they're not too bad. And if with some decent artillery placement, could have hit this Flak 36 and put some stress on some of these tanks so that we could have pretty easily pushed in. Now you can see here I am pushing into the tree line. I am trying to get these pioneers up, but very, very quickly they end up taking some heat. I did not turn their machine guns off, which I should have. Gets them pinned, and within a second they end up being, I think they end up being destroyed. Or maybe I get them to fall back, I'm not sure. We'll see here. Yeah, they end up falling back. Okay, well that works. Over here I am pushing a cannon, a 57mm, up around the side, trying to get a nice amount of sight on these tanks. He should actually see the side of that tank, but apparently not. Again, we've got more of this rocket barrage coming in, so once again we have to readjust and try to put some stress on them, because we do not want that to continue. That's putting a lot of added morale damage on our infantry units, and that's not a good thing. I finally did bring up a command unit into the town, or actually I have 2 command units in the town, so that's very, very good. It's adding a star to everyone, veterancy, so that helps. I have this M10 on the left flank now, so we're going to be pretty good over there, and I finally brought in some aircraft. I have a P-38 for dropping bombs, and then of course a Spitfire for anti-aircraft, and then of course we have our own aircraft, or anti-aircraft guns, which helps save them if we need to. He's trying to bring in his aircraft to continue his bombing attempts, but at this point I have so much anti-aircraft that it's just not working out very well for him. We drop a barrage right here on this Panzer IV, which causes him to fall back, so that works out fairly well for us. And then of course, with that forcing him to fall back, it kind of holds his advance. We see his Flak 18 or FK-18. It's a pretty decent, pretty long-range artillery unit, and now we are going to go for that guy right away. So here comes a few rounds. Hopefully we can knock him out. And of course, 2 shots in, he's already very, very stressed, so that is working out pretty good. I drop the second 155mm battery on this little tree line here that has the Flak 36. A falling back Panzer, and I'm thinking maybe some infantry in this tree line. He's trying to sneak in this ME. He brings it around to the left, which actually worked out pretty well for him, and destroy this house, forcing these Sepirs out of it, but then he quickly fell back. Now I tried to bring this Spitfire in to catch him, saw it wasn't going to happen, so I just put him on air cover. He's going to fly circles for a little bit. We were able to destroy this, I believe it was a Flak 38, this anti-aircraft gun that was right here. And of course also get this, get a good couple early shots on this JU-88 before he came in. So hopefully that would cause some issues with this bomb run, but it didn't. So some planes, even though they have a ton, oh, there you see our artillery did get his Flak 38 at that point, so that's a good bonus. And I was thinking that he probably had a bunch of infantry in this little town here, so I'm going to go ahead and drop my final 155mm battery on top of the town and hopefully get them either pinned or get them to fall back. Now, if I would have been playing a little bit smarter, I would have saved this until I had at least 2 or 3 units of infantry here, dropped some smoke at the same time, and then just pushed, because that right there would have not only pinned everybody down, but it would have given me the opportunity to push into that town really, really well. Over there you see more rockets, so in a minute we try to artillery that again. Our opponents at this point are starting to drop game, so Corzor just dropped, which is unfortunate, because then it basically guarantees a loss for them, even though it wasn't really looking too good at anyways. And now we just continue the push. So the M15 still doing work. I love those things. This is the first game I've really used a bunch of them, and man, they did a great amount of work. Destroyed the building. Harry surrenders, and that is game. So for the team, we did okay. We definitely finished positive, 2295 to 1585, significantly behind Adalith, who had 5,275 kills to 1,610 losses playing with the Scottish. That is, he did very, very well. He pretty much carried us on that far left flank, so that's pretty fantastic. Kills wise, not too shabby overall. The cannon, the 57mm, got a couple half tracks and some infantry. Another 57mm got 2 Shermans and a Panzer 35, so that's pretty decent. One of our M10s got 2 Panzers, 2 Panzer 35s, a half track, and a Pack 38. So nice there. Definitely a return on its points. Another M10 down here, same type of thing. 2 half tracks, a Sherman, and a unit of Grenadiers. Some Sapirs got a Grenadier unit and a half track. M10A1 over here with a Sherman, 2 Panzer 4Hs, a Panzer command vehicle, and another, looks like a little half track there. And then, of course, our M7 did well, getting one of our artillery units, getting the Flak 38 and a Flak 41. So that Flak 41 was a big one for us. We definitely want to get rid of those as soon as we can. 57mm cannon with a couple half tracks. The 155 battery did great. Got the Flak 36, munitions truck, and then a unit of a very high veterancy infantry, and another M7 over here getting the Flak 18 and a Flak 38. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the game. Let me know what you guys think. If there was anything you saw that I could improve on. That was my, I believe, second game with the French, and like I said in the last game, I'm enjoying them quite a bit. So if you like this video, guys, go ahead and hit that like button. If you want to see more like it, definitely subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Both the likes and the subscribes help me out a lot. And yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in. So have a great day. Bye-bye.